Hey guys, it's Dad with Dad's Guide to Adulting. I hope you're having a great day and doing well. Today we're going to be talking about the process of buying a car, which is very exciting to be thinking about buying your first car, but it can also be very intimidating because it's the first time or one of the first times in your life that you're going to be spending a lot of money and making a big financial commitment with thousands of dollars that you're going to be paying over a number of years. So ideally you want to do it right. But where do you start? There is so much information out there on the internet, it's sort of hard to organize it all. Don't even know where to begin. And there's always the nervousness of not wanting to be taken advantage of and pay too much or get a bad deal in the car. When you're dealing with car dealerships and buying a car, you're dealing with professionals. Obviously, we don't do this every day. So it's something that can cause a little bit of trepidation and fear. It shouldn't. If you learn some basic facts and some skill sets, and like anything else in life, if you get yourself prepared, you can buy a car at a good price and get yourself a good deal. Buying a car is one of those things that's a basic part of being an adult, and doing it for the first time can give you a lot of confidence. So have faith in yourself, do some homework, and you can do well. One thing to keep in mind throughout this process is that it takes a little bit of patience. I am not a patient guy. And so when I decide that I want a car, I usually want it in my driveway the next day. Doesn't work like that. It takes a little bit of digging and doing some homework, but think of it this way. If you put in 10 hours over a space of a week or two trying to learn about what kind of cars you want and prices and all the relevant portions of the deal, if you end up saving yourself $2,000 on the purchase price of the car, you're effectively paying yourself $200 an hour. You worked for 10 hours and saved $2,000. That's a pretty good rate, so it's well worth it to be prepared. The purpose of this video is to sort of give an overview of the issues we're going to be talking about to help you sort of structure your thoughts. The first issue you need to think about when you're getting ready to buy a car is your budget. How much can you afford? An important part of that is going to be the interest that you're presumably going to have to pay on a loan that you take out from a bank. I'm going to assume that as a young adult, you're going to need to finance your car purchase, by which I mean take out a loan from the bank. Very few people have all the cash necessary to go ahead and make that first purchase of their car and pay the full purchase price in cash, so you're going to have to finance it, which means you need to take into account the interest that you're going to pay to the bank over a period of time for that loan. Keep that in mind when you're calculating your total cost for the car. You're also going to need to factor in your monthly expenses once you have the car: auto insurance, tax, servicing, repairs, maintenance, and gasoline back and forth. So those are all going into the budget factors, and we'll talk about that in one of our first videos. Next question is what kind of car to buy. There are a number of factors you might want to throw into that decision, including what do I need it for? If you need it to commute back and forth to work or to school, a good mileage rating may be important for you. And mileage simply means how many miles you get for a single gallon of gasoline. Obviously, the more you get, the cheaper your gas costs, and that's better for you. If you want to go camping or off-roading, then you might want a four-wheel drive or a pickup truck. You'll have to decide whether you want a car that's new or used. Almost always, a first-time buyer should get a used car. New cars tend to lose a tremendous amount of their value the minute you drive them off the lot, so a used car, ideally one that still has factory warranties, which we'll talk about later, is a good one. You're going to want to check on the safety record of the car, customer satisfaction, and how other people who have bought it have liked it, what kind of features it has. You're going to determine which features you need as opposed to which ones you want, and by features I mean like a sunroof or cruise control or leather seats. When you're buying your first car, you really want to focus only on the ones you need, not necessarily on the ones you want, which may be more expensive than you can afford. And you're going to need to think about things like gasoline versus electric. Are you environmentally conscious, in which case you may want an electric car? And also the resale value. How much will it be worth later after you've used it for a few years? Some cars hold on to their value better than others. All those go into figuring out what kind of car to buy. We talk a little bit about how to find a car. There are a number of good websites these days that make it fairly easy to find cars in your region or in your state and in your area that are for sale, and you can check prices and features, and it's wonderful. We'll walk through a little bit of that. Then you need to think about where do you buy it? And by that I mean, who do you buy it from? Do you buy it from a dealership, or do you buy it from another private seller, just another person who's selling their car? There's pluses and minuses to each one of those, and we'll go through those. Then you also want to figure out, obviously, price and the value, and what's a good fair price for your car. We'll talk a little bit about how to do searches. There's a wonderful website called Kelley Blue Book, which has been around for a while, which helps you figure out the purchase price, the range for a car with various different features in it, and that can be helpful. We'll talk about negotiating We have a video that talks about how to negotiate with car dealers, some of my own personal experience, which I think may be helpful to you, and talk a little bit about some of the tactics that dealers will use, both ethical and unethical, usually ethical, but sometimes not, to try and get you to pay more for the price of the car and how you can recognize those. We'll talk about warranties and whether you need them or not. A warranty is basically a guarantee that the dealer who sells you the car will fix certain things if it happens within a certain time frame or within a certain number of miles. We'll also talk about sales contracts, what kind of provisions you would like to see and want to avoid in your car purchase agreement. We'll talk about the importance of testing it out, test driving it, and also getting the car inspected by your own inspection company, somebody you pay to inspect at a car service place or a mechanic, so you get a good sense for whether it's in good shape. And then last, we'll talk about taxes and titles and basically how you get your license plate and how you pay taxes on the sale of a car and get it registered every year. So that's the overview of the issues you need to think about when you're buying a car. And we'll get started with the first video right after this. Until then, remember, you got this.